chance to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
Welcome to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. So we just finished a shit kicking of the Giants this weekend. And more importantly, we finished Corey's wedding where he crushed it. Great job. Congratulations. We were all there for your rehearsal dinner, which was a good time.
Yeah.
Nick was someone's special date.
Yeah, it was a surprise appearance by Nick. I tried to leave him off the guest list, tried to keep him away from the event as much as I could.
Understandably.
It's impossible.
But, he drew the ire. Well, not ire, but he was irresistible to our friend Clint. And Clint brought Nick as a date to my rehearsal dinner, which, at the end, that was nice. But no, it was a great weekend. Happily married now for all of, I guess, like 48 hours as we sit here recording this. And now it's a great weekend.
For all the single women listening to the pod, you missed your chance.
Too late.
That ship has sailed.
Sorry, ladies.
Yeah,
But, no, hey, got married and the Saints won in the same weekend, so no complaints there.
Yeah, and I think we need to give a special shout-out to Nick and Clint for the 8th grade dance attire that they had.
That was fantastic. Navy blazer, white shirt, khaki pants.
We brought it.
Y'all killed it.
My mom called me today, and she's like, oh, the pictures look great from this weekend. Everything looked beautiful. What were Nick and Clint wearing? I said, well, they got a little confused. They took it back to 1992.
It was strategic.
Yeah.
I think it was strategic for Nick. He thought it was funny. I think for Clint, it was just...
Clint was probably going to wear that anyway.
He was going to wear it anyway, I think.
Or something close. I mean,
It took me an hour and a half to find some.
Not knocking Clint's style per se, but, he
The undershirt was a choice.
Also, Corey advanced in
crew
the
neck
fantasy
undershirts
playoffs this
are a
week.
choice. Yes, I did advance. Ass Drubbing of the... How do you say his team name again? Bodhisattva?
The Bodhisattva? That's
because I don't know the reference.
Point Break.
Yeah, I don't know the reference. I just played. Look, teams show up against 2 dogs, 1 chub in fantasy, and then teams get beat by 2 dogs, 1 chub.
Yeah, and we'll give Todd a little shout out for that. His team just got ravaged by injuries. It looked like the 21-22 Saints.
He wasn't wrong when he was like, "Is this really a lineup I'm putting in a fantasy football playoff?"
It's pretty bad.
And I lucked out. I mean, Tyson Chandler, Ty Chandler, whatever. He had 20 points.
He got the start.
He got the start.
He got all the carries this
picked
week.
him up because Nick Chubb has been on my IR all year. But I digress. It was a good weekend. I got to thank the most important person of the weekend, my wife.
There you
Lizzie.
go.
She
Thought you were going Ty Chandler there.
that would be a fantasy football thing to say, wouldn't it? But no, it was great. So yeah.
No, it was a great weekend all around. Saints won. They inspired a little bit of confidence in the whole city, I think. Some people who have been out maybe creeping back in a little bit. I found myself, I was talking to Alex about it earlier. I was like, if they play like that, she's like, wait a minute.
That's how it always starts.
I'm like, it's starting. Look, we're making the playoffs.
I was going to say, so let's get into
let's get into it. So before we dive into, I guess, reviewing the game, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I'm convinced we're making the playoffs.
I was going to say, there's two
Wow,
ways. There's
that's a
two
big
ways to talk
turnaround.
about, to review what happened on Sunday. There's the talk about the game because the game had a lot of things to talk about itself, but then there's the big picture. So it sounds like you want to get into conclusion type things first.
Well, let me say this.
You yelled at me 2 weeks ago.
Time out. I'm not changing my stance on the predictions. So I am predicting. This is stepping on predictions in the next episode.
Yeah.
I will still be picking the Rams to win for 2 reasons. One, I do think DA, we're not there to where I can believe in him yet. And B, it seems to be a good luck charm for the Saints when I pick against them. So we're going to go ahead and keep this train going because, at the end of the day, it's fun to go to playoff games.
You can't say what the good luck charm is, though. You might have to pick us to win now because you said it.
Nah.
You should consider it.
I'll consider it. We'll see how things go at the next episode.
It's like a Seinfeld episode.
It's
you can't say the good luck charm out loud. Sorry, there's an impression. I did it.
That one wasn't bad.
I have some good ones.
That one was decent.
I have some good ones.
No, but it's I'm still not at that place where I can believe in a Dennis Allen led team or a Derek Carr quarterback team. But I will go ahead and say Derek Carr was fantastic on Sunday. to me, it was the most complete performance of the season, offense and defense.
Yeah, no question.
The defense was fucking lights out. That was just, it was like watching, they smothered the Giants' offensive line.
Yeah.
And they harassed Devito the entire day. It was fun to watch, man. That's what we thought the defense would be after we watched week 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I know we're always hesitant to like jump into the intangibles, or the hard to quantify type things as the astute podcasters that we are. But I don't know. When I was watching the first quarter of the game, it was like they looked like they were playing angry.
Yeah.
Like they looked like they were just more rough, more violent than games past. Obviously, that start is, I don't think night and day is even the best comparison to say that start. Versus,
I would say night and day.
no, night and day, but it needs to be more. Like I
Yeah.
feel like night and day is an understatement compared to the past few games how they've started.
Well,
but
they didn't sabotage themselves right out of the gate for once.
But even
But the defense came out, like Corey said, they were
they
angry.
looked
They looked it.
I know,
like
but
they were
it's-
playing harder. I mean, did y'all see that?
I saw it. I
Two
agree
games
completely.
ago, you throw a pick on your own 20 right after giving up a touchdown. Like everything, we just like sent momentum.
But time out. You said after giving up a
I
touchdown,
get it.
so that's the big
Right.
difference.
I understand it, and that's two different teams we're talking about who
That-
we were
yeah,
playing.
context
But
as well.
When you need a response and you drop a ball in the middle of the field and they immediately give the ball back after a long drive by the other team, like the complementary football is what's been missing all year.
Yeah.
Okay. When the defense needs to make the stop because the offense is screwing up, that's when the defense gives up the touchdown.
Right.
When the defense just made a huge stop, get you the ball back, we're going to get the lead. That's when the offense is 3 and out, or a dumb turnover, or Hurst punching the ball out of Carr's hands, or Jawan dropping a ball. It's the complementary football that has been missing to me. They've both had big moments. I think we should talk about kind of like where they're at on the season.
Yeah. I mean,
Go
the
for it. What you
offen-
got?
So the offense now is 13th in yards and 14th in points in the league.
real quick, I like when Nick says we got to talk about where they are. You mean statistically?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, okay, so what's your overall thoughts?
Well, hopefully he
defense-
says what he said before we started recording, and we get him on this part where he's about to tell me how good Derek Carr is doing, and I'm going to tell him Derek Carr is still a mediocre as fuck QB.
I haven't changed my stance on Derek Carr for 1 second the whole year.
Okay.
He's a mid-sized sedan.
He's a mid-sized sedan, like you said, that if you put everything perfect around him, can elevate to a better player.
Yeah, like the check engine light's on, but he could probably make it to Florida.
Right. If you don't do that, he will not elevate them. He needs to be elevated.
Yeah.
He is going to be in the middle of the road until you put the perfect situation around him. I thought we could do that. We have not done that. So do I blame Carr? Carr's quarterback rating this year is higher than his career rating.
Well, there's certain stats.
Everything is exactly where he's been his whole career, but somehow we think that he is more than he is.
It's not.
I think.
No. I think we're done thinking he's more than he is. I think the
We know what he
preseason
is.
expectation was that we wanted so badly for him to be more than he is that we all bought into it. We
wanted lightning to strike twice, like
we
it did with
bought
Breeze.
we bought the
is
words
a way
they were
different
saying.
situation
We
than
bought the training camp stats that we all bemoaned
But don't
so
you,
much.
real quick,
you know,
don't you think it's
that I
a
brought
little
up.
bit?
There you go.
Don't you think it's a little
Max's
ridiculous
face was-
to think a guy 10 years into his career is going to make a jump? I think
Well, of
it's
course.
more we have the team to put around him to make him a better player.
Yeah, but that was the expectation going in.
Yeah.
And that was the justification everybody had, or when everybody wanted to become.
Do you think we've done that? That'd be my question. Do you think
Have we put people-
put him in a
or-
perfect situation?
Well,
No.
no,
Well-
time out.
well,
on
evidence-
paper,
on paper.
and on paper, the wide receiver core is one of the best ones the Saints have had
when healthy.
When healthy. The offensive
Haven't been.
line, on paper, and you and I made this argument against him.
We were
and-
wrong.
When
We
y'all
were
were trying to
wrong.
compare them to the Super Bowl offensive line.
Right.
Right. Now, I will
I
say.
get why we said what we said,
Talented.
but we
Right.
haven't
Yeah,
been where we
talented.
thought we were.
Right.
But my point is, back in July and August, if you would have asked the same question, I would say, yes, we absolutely have surrounded him with what he needs to be the best Derek Carr he can be. Now, the reality is, in mid-December, that is not true.
That's not what
We
happened.
were dead wrong.
Right.
The offensive line regressed at every position.
And
the wide
that's-
receivers can't stay healthy and honestly haven't performed as well as they should
That's
have.
why I haven't slammed Carr to the same degree as everyone else. I don't expect Carr to elevate a poor team or a mid team. I expect Carr to be able to manage an elite team. I thought we were an elite defense. I was wrong. We looked great this week. We looked pretty good last week. We're kind of
Context, though, on both of those teams
bad
suck.
teams,
Yeah.
right? But it's a good sign because it was dominant. So that gives me some hope. They're back to 6th in the league in points allowed. So they're hanging in there, but they're not dominant this year.
Right.
They're against the run game, they've been terrible. So I thought that's what we had as our core, and we were trying to score 22 to 24 points a game, and we would win a lot of games that way. So I wasn't counting on Carr going 5,040. I was counting on Carr going 3,800, 25 touchdowns, low interceptions, which he has done the low interceptions of QBs.
Low touchdowns, too.
Very low touchdowns, but he hasn't turned it over. I think of quarterbacks that have played 13 or more games, so played the whole season, next to Stroud, he's the second fewest interceptions. So he hasn't turned it over. But he, like, to your credit, he has not elevated anything. 16 touchdowns is not good enough. But I think if the offensive line, like they did this week, keeps him clean, I think he can do the job with this team. If they don't, he's not good enough to do that.
To the pressure thing, there are some podcasts out there that actually get their recaps out before us, Norland.football being one of them. They mentioned that he was only pressured, I believe it was once, the entire game.
And that's why the stats look like they did.
And Carr, they ran.
Which is wild, given that Ramczyk was out. Landon Young had a hell of a game.
And the fact that you didn't even hear Landon Young's name called. Because if he's blocking good, then it's tale of two Landons. It's like he's either blocking well, but his name gets called in the pre-snap penalties, or he's not getting the penalties, but you're seeing guys fly right by him. And neither were the case.
That was well blocked in the run game. It was well blocked in the pass game.
Yeah, Kamara had 4 yards carried.
Look, overall, it was the best performance, offense and defense of the season.
And like we said, it's a bad team, but they were on a 3-game win streak. The defense had been playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
The offense was so-so, but the defense was playing lights out the last few weeks against some, decent teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what gives me a little bit of hope. They were playing very, very well, and we were able to do what we wanted. We didn't get out of our heads. We played pretty conservative, in my opinion.
Which is fine.
Because we didn't have our top 2 receivers. I was totally good with the approach. It was great. We used Jimmy. We used Juwan. Juwan actually showed up for the first time this year, in my opinion.
That touchdown was amazing.
Yeah, by far
Beautiful.
The best use of our tight ends all year.
True.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. I mean, because
they had 2 touchdowns.
The tight ends, and then when
that's the whole season.
It was the first time where we saw a situation similar to what we were hyping up before game 1, where we were going through our roster and saying, damn, look at all these weapons. And there was a moment when, it wasn't on Jimmy's touchdown, but there was a moment when Taysom Hill lined up like almost directly behind or one off of Jimmy Graham. And I'm like, that just looks so badass, seeing Jimmy on the line and seeing Taysom split off right behind him. I mean, it's like, what are you going to do? You can't put 2 out of your 3, or maybe your only 2 linebackers on those dudes.
And Taysom got a rest coming off the injury this week. I think he only had 3 touches
all
the whole
these
game.
Yeah, for this, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, you would have said, what do we need to see from the offense to beat a Giants team with their rankings aren't good, but with their personnel, we would have, and the way we were playing on offense, we all would have said it's got to be a Taysom Hill game. I mean, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were saying every game must be a Taysom Hill game if we're expecting to have anything going on offense. So the fact that he was, I don't want to call him a non-factor, but he was just, in a reduced role or just didn't, pan out. Maybe they overkeyed on him, and the other guys, we took advantage of that. But I'll say this, to follow up on Nick's point with Carr, and and then my overall thoughts on the team after yesterday. It's like Carr has a lot of statistics where they're favorable to him, like you mentioned, where you can talk about his completion percentage, you can talk about passer rating, but there's certain statistics that he probably ranks highly in, but don't tell the whole story. I think from the game part of it, like this game specific, the game specific part of it, we saw Carr for the first time be decisive for the whole game. Maybe save for a few plays that he kind of reverted, held onto it, got sacked or something, but that was so few and far between compared to past games. If you look at, did he win the quarter by quarter? I think he won as a quarterback all 4 quarters. I don't think he had the past few games, Carr could have said he's won quarters 2 and 3 or won quarter 4, but failed quarter 1. Overall, I think he gets a passing grade for all 4 quarters. So that's one thing. Especially you saw him go through all of his progressions, not just two, like Nick, I think you said a few episodes ago, he's a 2-read quarterback. He was doing more than 2 reads, and it was obvious, and that was great. But I think when we talk about the team as a whole and what this win, like the feelings coming off this win in general, it, for me, strikes the same feeling that I got for that first Jimmy Graham touchdown in the red zone 3 weeks ago, where we were all like, oh my God, like, yes, Jimmy, that's amazing, but also, what the fuck? Where was that all year? And it's like that. It's like my same feelings for that I had on that one play, but for the whole season. It's kind of like we all said, we bemoaned Dennis Allen saying, got to get it together. We're going to keep working on it, sawing wood, as Max likes to say. But it's the same feeling as Jimmy Graham catching that first touchdown. Like the where was that? Because it's so late in the year. Like, we should have figured this out by now.
I get that, but we don't know what was going on either.
No, we don't.
Jimmy was sitting out practices sometimes. Then also,
this isn't about Jimmy. This is more like my feeling on the team as a whole.
And I totally, well, the Jimmy thing's been brought up a lot. So we talked about it in the pod. All three of us thought he would be a staple in the red zone. And then, the more you think about it, okay, who comes off the field? Does Taysom come off the field? Does Mike Thomas come off the field? Well, Mike Thomas gets injured. All of a sudden, Jimmy's in on all these situations. So I don't know what was going on. I would love to know what those conversations were and why Jimmy wasn't used more in the red zone. There's probably, if you're telling me, well, then Mike wouldn't get red zone snaps or so. Okay, maybe there's a reasonable explanation. I don't know. But you see what he's doing down there right now. It's absurd that he has 4 touchdowns on 5 throws, I think, this year to the end zone. It's 80%. It's fixed car in the red zone.
He's got more touchdown catches than catches between the 20s.
Right.
It's
Look at the Saints the last 3 weeks. Since Jimmy has been in there in the red zone, we're 90% in the red zone. We've gone from a team that could not score in the red zone.
9 of 10.
We're 9 of 10.
Yeah.
So, did it take too long to find it? 100%. Because if this was there in the building, we should have found it. Because we were so unsuccessful, we should have been trying different things.
But it's like my main point is that it's just like, for me, it's the same feeling. Like, I love that we saw a complete game out of this team. Like, yes, we've been waiting for this for all year. I mean, you could say the Patriots was a complete game, but everyone was like,
that Colts was pretty
that
good.
Opponent was shit. Yeah. And they still are. The Colts might be the closest thing to the complete game because they showed to kind of get back into that AFC South picture as the season went on.
Team. Yeah,
but this was I guess, most complete, complimentary, certainly the best home game we've played all year. And I'm just saying that the feelings were comparable. I'm kind of like, I love it. I love seeing it. But at the same time, I was kind of like, God, why do we have to wait this long to see it?
You see, I'm going to argue the Colts win is the best win of the season because it's the best team we've beaten.
They also went on a tear right after
and
we
they went
beat
on
them.
a tear right after and we beat them in Indy.
Yeah.
So that to me is the most impressive game. The Giants, they had a good little 3-game stretch with DeVito, but the reality is they still suck. They're not a good team. You know what I mean? But hey, look, I don't want to discredit what we did because we took care of business.
We still did what we were
which is what we don't normally do. Because I've comped.
You didn't beat them. You dominated.
You dominated. Now, I've comped the DA era to the Jim Haslett era multiple times. And that is a classic game where, Haslett and Dennis Allen would have normally lost. We dominated this team. It was, I know it was a 7-6 lead, I think, at halftime.
Yeah. But we came right out.
But we came right back out. And look, our point differential in the third quarter, like we're lights out in the third quarter.
I couldn't believe it when they showed that, they flashed that stat on the screen.
Best in the league, I think, yeah.
They showed the points allowed all year. It was like 25.
Yeah.
I was like,
and then the offense scores.
We've referenced that many times before, how DA makes the adjustments, but why
Wait a minute,
we
make
doing
adjustments?
it from the beginning? But in the beginning,
according to DA, we do not.
We don't make any
Don't ask him that question.
Yeah.
He'll yell at you.
Even Max was saying, why can't he get it right in the beginning of the game when at halftime we come out and we're just dominating these teams defensively that ran up and down the field?
Go back to Colin Saunders. We didn't pre-plan well enough. It's like, you mean watch film? You didn't? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Look, but even Colin Saunders looked fucking intense on the.
They all did. And look, the one thing I was just looking it up. I'm 1 win away from winning my bet with Adam.
Oh.
Yeah, which is hilarious given that, this team has been. He took 7. I took 8 or more.
Wins?
Yeah, wins.
Yeah.
So I just need 1 more. which will be
Figure it out.
double dinners he owes me.
I wouldn't like, given the year we've had, and I'm glad you said that. It's a good segue into the consistency factor. I'm bringing it up. It just
They're going to make the playoffs, dude. I'm telling you, they're just.
So here
We're in the wild card spot right now.
We're tied for the wild card spot with the Rams, who we play this week. So
according
quick,
to ESPN, where the Rams currently have the tiebreaker over us because
we play each other, so we settle.
We play each other, so it settles. But no, my point is, it's yet another point in the year, and maybe this is the point where we can buck the trend, just like this past game, we bucked the trend of what I said before of playing exactly to the level of our opponent. We did not do that on Sunday, which was refreshing as hell to see. So maybe, just maybe, this is a point in the year where we can see us take a good performance, a good complimentary performance, and just very simply do it again.
I'm going to be honest with you. If they make the playoffs, in my opinion, they've earned it because you've got a wild card team.
I need to see them.
And the two division foes. If you come out of that on top and in the playoffs, you earned it.
Out of 3 games left, I need to see at least one more that looks like it did yesterday to say we've like.
That doesn't mean they're going anywhere.
Earn it as in like.
I'm just saying
like,
they earned the spot.
If earning it means like played well enough, looked like a playoff team from start to finish of the year, or have put together enough good performances to be a playoff team, I need to see one more performance like we saw yesterday before I say they earned it. Now, if they back in, look, like we said before, we'll take it. It gets us in the tournament.
You're going to have to win 2 out of 3.
It gives us an opportunity to be irrational and say, hey, we could maybe if we beat this team.
I'm saying if you beat 2 out of these 3, these are all in contention.
These 2 out of the 3, you've earned it, yeah.
You're going to have to win 2 out of these 3 to get in because somebody's going to win 2 out of the 3. The Rams are going to basically take the wild card away from us if we lose.
Yep.
It's their spot. If we beat them, we essentially take that spot.
Yeah, because the Vikings are the only other contenders for that, and
we would both
they played
get
the
in.
Lions twice.
But we would both get in, I think, in that case.
Yeah.
So if we beat the Rams, Max is right. This is, and we'll talk about this next episode, but then you play Tampa and Atlanta. Everyone's contending. There's no BS game here. Everyone's trying. I know they're not great teams, but they are the NFL mid teams. This is what we're looking at.
And Tampa's got us, the Jags. They got the Jags next week. Then
Possibly
us,
minus
and
Lawrence.
they have
and
the Panthers left, so they got to lay up in the last game.
Of course, it's the game that Lawrence is. Is he in protocol? Is that it?
Yeah. Well, let me say this though. I know we've had the stance, or I've had the stance of like we're just going to get to the playoffs and just get demolished. But the reality is, the NFC is so bad. Aside from the 49ers, like
right.
I don't trust
think
the Cowboys.
Get demolished.
No, the 49ers would fucking.
Yeah, but
destroy.
you're not getting that in the first round. So
that's my point, though.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is literally
The
any other
tournaments-
matchup you're getting other than the 49ers, who will have a bye, so you're not going to see them right away.
Right.
You've got a chance at winning if the team performs as they did on Sunday, where it's complementary football, offense and defense.
Especially
if
at
they
home.
come out in the first quarter on the first drive and put their foot on the other team's throat like the defense did this week, you've got a chance. And if Carr this is all I wanted to see out of Carr this year was this. I know in the season preview episode, we were throwing around like stats and all that. This is all we need to see out of Carr.
Yeah,
Just
218.
don't make a stupid pass. Make your good passes here and there. Play ball control. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, some people were saying it was his best game of the year, 134
It was his best
passer
game of the year.
rating, and
The Colts game was really damn
some
good,
people were
too.
throwing
Yeah, it was.
a comma but after the best game of the year conclusion, saying like comma but. He did it against the Giants, and
he didn't have a starting receiver
coming in.
so
but
that needs to stop.
Yeah,
there was no starting receiver.
But here's the thing. They're like, you would think that a QB's best game would be one where he's passed for like 300, whatever. And that I don't care. I don't care about that with Carr. Because 218, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's exactly what Max said. That's what we need. And that's what we talked about before the season. That's why we were so high on him, because we said, he never really had this kind of
He's never had a defense.
supporting cast.
Never. So
And
let's go back to that, what Max said.
I'm good with it. Yeah.
How do we feel? Because I think all 3 of us, even in the beginning, I know maybe y'all got a little more negative than I did, but we all felt we had a great defense.
Yeah.
How do we feel today versus 4 weeks ago on the defense? Because if the defense is not this, I still don't think we have a chance. I think the defense has to be a game-changer defense, not just we'll hold them to 22 and we need you to go score 3 touchdowns.
They
and 2
need
field
to
goals.
show the ability to take away the other team's best player, which I think we said that earlier in the
They
year
did it
too.
this week.
And that's what they did with Saquon. If they can just say, you're the best player, we're taking you away. Now, next week, we'll talk about preview pod, but it does present a challenge. But, yeah, I think, Yeah, they need to play like this. They need to be a forceful. They need to be a force. They need to be a force, not just a.
So that's where I stand. I'm with
Yeah.
Max in that we have a chance to win if the defense is. They don't have to dominate like that.
don't have to dominate.
But they have to be
It's not
very,
going to be 6
very,
points a game.
Right.
But yeah.
They have to be very good, and the offensive line has to play just like this week. If the offensive line can't play like that, we don't have a chance. Carr has to be standing up to make a difference. When we protected him, the games have been good. When we didn't, they were very bad.
Yeah, to answer your question, where I feel this week as opposed to last week and the week before is I feel a lot better about the performance and the trajectory of the team.
Yeah.
Now, I don't trust them yet.
No.
I need to see it Thursday. I
Yep.
need to see them on Thursday come out. The Rams don't run the ball much at all.
Ooh, that's not true. That's not true.
Kyron Williams.
That's not true.
They don't run it that much, though, man.
When
It's
he's
more
been in
for-
there, they run it a lot.
Well-
when he hasn't been in there, they've struggled.
They're
But
not a traditional
They're
run
not a
first
traditional. They're more of a
team.
passing team. It's been,
But they're more pass to open up the run.
Yeah.
But when they do open up that run, I mean, because
my thing is,
tough.
if you shut down their run, I don't think you're not shutting them down.
but
do you know he's averaging 95 a game?
How many games?
Kyron, 10. He's going to have 1,000 yards. He's only played 10 games.
Yeah.
They have run it very well with him. But you're right, without
They're
him.
a pass first team, though, man.
But he's been great too.
But
I mean,
also, there's another part of this that we said. This is a segue into the preview, but we'll get there. But
right, we can leave that for next week.
Yeah.
But for next
My,
week,
my point was
thoughts for
I need
next
to
week,
see
the-
it
the
again.
QB, the
no,
QB we
What
faced.
the thing is, I need to see it again this week because this isn't Tommy DeVito. This isn't Bryce Young.
right?
This is Matt Stafford.
The
And
Georgia
as you-
great.
As you talked about,
he is. He
Nick
is.
and I were texting offline about this, and I think it was after his game the
Great
other
text
day.
things, too.
Nick texted me that Stafford's in the Hall of Fame now. And then I went and looked at his numbers, and
He's in the
Jesus
Hall of Fame.
Christ, he's in the Hall of Fame.
It's hard to
So,
argue.
to my point is, this isn't DeVito, who's played 3 games.
Yeah.
Or 4 games, whatever it is. This is Stafford.
Yeah.
There are 2 stud receivers on that team.
Right.
So yeah, there's a good tight end, and then there's Sean McVay calling the plays.
So before we recap our predictions from last week, we haven't been able to do this with the Saints game in a while, but we had enough really positive plays on offense and defense. What was y'all's favorite play of the game? Right? I mean, usually that's easy to answer because there's only like 1 or 2.
To me, probably the Jawan Johnson one.
Okay. All right.
No, I loved it because it looked exactly like you would draw it up, and it was executed flawlessly. You could see it developing from the beginning, and it just went.
It was a
according to
perfect
plan.
play.
you
It was perfect.
You had Taysom,
I'm gonna give that one
did you
to
have Taysom
Carmichael.
streaking on the outside, and Jawan was
It was
in the
perfect.
seam.
It was
Yeah.
a great play. That one I'm gonna give to Carmichael. That was a beautiful play. It isolated both those guys
Yeah.
1-on-1, and Jawan got inside leverage, and it was over. And it was a perfect throw. The one for me, because we just haven't seen it, was the Kirkwood touchdown. Because Carr got pressured, stepped up, and he threaded the needle over the line, right around 2 dudes with their hands up, and that was a play that was extra.
We haven't seen
you
that
didn't
yet.
expect. No,
yeah,
we haven't.
And
We haven't.
you took that one from me, and I'll reiterate it because that was my favorite. Because it was one of the examples of Carr making more than one read.
Yeah.
I mean, good God, if Keith Kirkwood's your number 2 read on that play, then that's a bad play design. But he clearly
Just seeing him on the field makes me angry.
That's an old Peyton move, though.
But he
Yeah, it is.
clearly made more than one read. He, a couple of analysts say he even looked off the safety further to the left to open up the spot for Kirkwood, and then, and like Nick said, he stepped up in the pocket. You know, we've seen Carr be so hesitant or just not do that at all.
Yeah.
The fact that he stepped up, he saw his guy, threw a laser in there. Really haven't seen that this year, but for maybe once or twice. So that was my favorite play.
And look, it's encouraging to be able to actually have a segment where we talk about a favorite play.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think we've been able to do this in a while.
The A.T. Perry
That was
catch.
refreshing.
The A.T. Perry catch that was not a touchdown, where Carr just gave him a chance.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
That
That was-
long.
yeah.
That was good.
That was good.
3rd and 18, I think.
Lynn Bowden diving out, full
Yeah.
layout
Is it
for the
Bowden or Bowden?
They keep saying Bowden. I want to say Bowden. Phonetically, it looks like it has to be Bowden.
I mean,
but
Bobby Bowden, I think we refer to as
they
the
keep
greatest
saying
Bowden.
They keep saying Bowden.
Where
I
we
don't
were
know.
talking about earlier in the year, we weren't making those plays at the moment you need them. Where A.T.
Timeliness, yep.
realizes that he doesn't have the first down, then lowers his head and gets that yard instead of doing what Olave did, falling down a yard short. Bowden, whatever we're going to call it. That
Call
play.
him Lynn.
Call him Lynn. Carr stepping up. Those were the plays we weren't making.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're starting to see more of them. from everybody.
And then another
Which is perfect at this time of the year,
Yeah,
because this is where you want to see him click.
And
You
then,
don't want to see him start off, and you remember this when we were kids, it was the 5-0 start. And then all of a sudden, they're 5-5.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Another nod to timeliness defense, 2 of 16 third downs.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to go ahead and say this
crazy.
before we dive into the recap of the predictions, but I want to go ahead and give myself a pat on the back for A.T. Perry when I sent that tweet out.
Yep.
On the third day of the draft, or the second day of the draft, however many days there are now, and just talking about how I really like this guy and I wanted to see us bring him in, and the fact that we got him so late was just awesome. I think it is his age. Nick and I are real big on the age of the players coming in.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's going to have a big impact on
In development, it's a big
on the
deal.
development and
Age
also the
and
Hall of Fame
number
possibilities.
Number of starts in college, too.
Now A.T. Perry, he's 24, which is just crazy to me. But
Shaheed was old too. But we
Shaheed
got
was
him
old
for nothing.
too.
Shahid also, great game.
Penning's
Timely
another
catches.
one. Penning's another. He's already 25. It's like, Jesus Christ, man.
He still sucks. Damn it.
Yeah,
That's going to be more of an off-season topic, but let's go ahead and dive into the recap.
we want to give a shout out to Penning. Nick, what'd you
Penning,
say?
it was a really nice high five.
High
Groupie
five.
got up.
Penning, great high five.
Yeah, good at high fives.
Found out he still suits up.
And he's still on the field goal team, so that's good.
I had no idea he was suited up for the game, I'll be honest.
Congrats to him for still getting on the field.
Landing the high five on a guy who's a foot shorter than him. I mean, you can't.
Right.
Well, I'm going to give a
Look,
shout out to Groupie
just,
for that, man. He gets the props on that.
The
But
shorter guy probably
let's
is
dive
the
into the
high,
recap and see what we got.
We're talking about key plays here in the high five. Anyway, all right. So we'll start with Nick. He was first on the list. He had the Saints winning 20-17. Offensive MVP was Taysom.
That was wrong.
That's a no. Taysom did not have a TD. But anyway, defensive MVP for Nick. Paulson Adebo, INT. He didn't get the INT.
He should have had one.
He had a good
One went
game.
right through his hands.
I mean, I think the DBs played well. I don't
Well,
know.
we're talking about who are we giving? Are we going to go Granderson with the three? Not
No,
sorry.
well,
passing you
no
with
way,
3 sacks?
no way.
I
Or
think
DeMario?
we're going to land
DeMario.
on.
No way.
I agree.
We're gonna get there.
DeMario said.
No, agree,
okay,
agree.
go ahead. We're doing it. What are we doing first? We're going to pick the winners first?
We're going to go through and say
Okay, go
who landed any MVPs. Corey, he had.
You're referring to yourself in the third person now.
I was doing that
nice.
just-
He
I was-
gets married, and all of a sudden he's...
It wasn't Mr. Corey.
Wow.
at least.
I was doing that just to get
Mr.
your-
Corey
I did that on
thinks so.
purpose to see what your comment was going to be. Anyway, so Corey had
There we go
17-14.
again.
I
There we go.
picked the side. I gotta deflate my head a little bit there. 17-14 Saints win. I had AK as the offensive MVP. I predicted 2 touchdowns from him. He didn't get that. He had a $100 purpose. And then defensive MVP, I was also a Debo. So we'll leave previous comments to that. Max, I'm going up on you another game in the standings.
We're tied now.
We're tied.
There we go.
Moving closer. That's what I
There
mean.
you go.
I moved up again.
Just let it be known that I'm proving a point
So
here.
it stands 8-6 for me, 6-8 for both of
usually,
you.
hedge whenever you get into situations like this. Like if you lose in a bet or not, this is a bet, but
No,
a
I
contest,
just made it clear.
You've properly hedged.
If you lose,
yourself.
you lose. We
which
know-
is
we know
fine.
how it goes.
Like
Your
it's
record
good.
is what it is,
like,
right?
You've justified it.
So who'd he pick?
Anyway,
Who'd he pick?
we had the Saints losing 17-20. Offensive MVP Max was also AK with 2 touchdowns, but Max's defensive MVP, and I think this might be where he landed. There's some argument, but anyway, his defensive MVP was DeMario, sack, fumble.
Whatever.
Definitely got the
It
sack.
was the correct pick.
Groupie, thank God, did not miss as you predicted, but he didn't have a 29-yard field
There
goal.
was no pressure.
There was
on
no
Groupie
pressure
today.
kick.
There's no pressure
Thank
kick.
you. Thank you.
and he
because
also kicked it from long
That
range.
is exactly what I told Alex.
know?
She goes, "Oh, he's going to miss this." I said, "No, he's going to nail
he
it."
nails the-
and I said,
he'll
"The reason he's going to nail this is because we're up,
And
There's
he's going to
no
stay
pressure.
on the team. And he'll stay on the team.
If we
Exactly.
could just bring John Carney out from wherever he is for the late game 30-yard field goals, I'd be fine with the roster spot. to
Do
be
not
honest.
mention his name after the goddamn the
He was so
Jacksonville.
good. I still can't believe
But that was a
happened.
20-yard,
All right,
right?
we're going to leave that there. For me, since we're talking about those picks, for me, this wasn't close. The offensive MVP was Carr this week. The defensive MVP,
Agree.
there is a debate between passing on with the 3 sacks, but DeMario set the tone.
Yeah.
In the first 2 drives,
Yep.
he just...
He had like 8 tackles in the first quarter.
And that's what I meant
phenomenal.
by looking like they were coming out firing. He
Yeah.
set the tone. Like team leader coming out, making the plays,
And I
leading by
text you
example.
guys. I said he's all pro again this year. It's happening. Which is
Is he
insane.
already up to 100 tackles or close to it? He's
oh,
like
yeah.
90. Yeah,
He's got to be because I
He's
know I
gotta
saw
be.
he was up to 65 solo. Let me see,
felt like-
102.
It felt like he had
102.
40 in the first half.
But that's not what's so impressive. It's 6.5 sacks.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
Granderson got one later in the game, he was
was
tied
the
for the
leader.
team lead.
Yeah.
So,
and DeMar he's capable of finishing the season leading the team in sacks.
That's an incredible stat line for a middle linebacker.
And that was one of the things when we first brought him in. And I remember the first season we brought him in, it was like he's a stout middle linebacker, big bodied, like range of motion.
Able to rush the passer.
And he was a pass rusher in New York, and we thought maybe we get that out of him.
No one thought we were getting this out of him.
He's over 40 career sacks now. Yeah. Like, that's legit from that
a
position.
Middle linebacker is impressive.
There's one thing I want to point out, and this goes back to the Caden Ellis love of Corey and Zach Bond, and me and Max telling you what type of player Zach Bond was. Zach Bond changed the freaking game in the second half.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Do you see the bend on his pass rush?
I didn't like him as a Sam. I've always said that. I didn't like him as a...
But that's what we kept saying. He's a pass rushing...
That's a Sam, though.
No, Sam doesn't have hand in the dirt. Like, when they put him...
Well, Sam is the more the pass rusher out of the three linebackers. Mike is the middle.
Sam is
weak side is the more coverage.
Bond is built... Like we said, I don't know if Wisconsin ran the 3-4, but he's one of the smaller.
Defensive end. He was a defensive end.
Right.
In college.
He's built to line up on the line.
He's a classic.
He's not built for it. He weighs 225 pounds.
I don't mean physically built, but I mean that's his.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Expertise. That's his. He's good at it.
We can put this fight to bed. We said
we need a whole other episode to talk about
playing
Bond.
him in Caden's position made no sense. He's a different player. That's the only point.
He's not a 4-3 outside linebacker. He's an edge, and we weren't putting him there.
But we're using him as
what he's showing you. This game is he can be an edge in the NFL.
Bringing him in
on third down.
Exactly.
Take Cam out.
That's what this is the one thing.
Cam out.
Right. This is what I wanted to say. And
you can't because
well, hold on. It hit me right when we were going through the predictions. I'm like, wait a minute. We didn't touch on the fact that Cam was not in on most of the third downs,
and it worked.
And guess what? It is working.
It's working
because who has shown his face over the last couple of weeks? Zach Bond.
Right.
Who showed his face the other day?
Situational pass rushers. It's like
Bond. If nothing else, Bond has juice. Like he is explosive as fuck. This is what he was supposed to be.
He looks more like a pass rusher than anyone on our roster. You
that's what he is.
You see his body bend and get under that tackle. He did it 3 times.
Right.
And I don't know if he even got credit for a sack, but he caused 3 sacks.
And the NFL guys, even
he's
on
a
bad
must
teams,
resign at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, even on bad teams, guys are so good to where you have to come up with different things to confuse them or to get stuff on them. And in this day and age, it's either schemes or confusion. So think about being an offensive tackle, even the best ones, where you're blocking a guy like Cam Jordan for 2 downs, 3 downs, depending on the situation, and you're going from like the 280 big guy who's just going to put his body into you to then the next play is a guy like Zach Bond. Like you mentally and physically have to adjust for that, and some of these guys clearly can't do it. It's worked for us, which is great.
He was not credited with a sack, which is criminal. Because I'm telling you, 2 for sure should have been split sacks.
Well, that's just like how Chris Olave still hasn't been credited with a drop. You know, it's like the stat guys this year have been missing it. But anyway.
Well, look, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. But I will say I do see Bond going on a run over the next couple of weeks. And I think he's going to earn himself a nice little contract.
We love to dog the coaching. Let's give him credit for benching Cam in those spots because that's a hard thing to do when you're talking about Cam.
Yeah.
He is a legend. It's despite Corey's opinion. He is a legend. And
he can be a legend at number 11.
They put Passignon and Bond in instead of Cam Jordan this week, and they found something. They found something.
Yep.
All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. Catch us in a few days. We'll go ahead and have the preview episode for the Rams game on Thursday Night Football. Who dat?
Boom.